Hello, today we're going to talk about the green levers. Who is we? Well, that is Miriam. Introduce yourself.
I am Miriam Lopes from University of Aveiro and I am environmental engineering.
There's me, Holger Schiele, University of Twente, Professor of Technology Management of Supply.
Hello, namaste. Myself Santosh Bandari. I'm from University of Aveiro, representing here one of the students from PhD in Environmental Science and Engineering.
Excellent. And jointly we have been working on this project Precius to develop the green levers. So how do they fit in this total project?
Yeah, to see in our past 2 years where we have been working on the Precious project and we have come up to this micro module introduction and the green levers and further with the explanation today we are going to elaborate some of the aspect of green levers here together, right, Professor Mary?
Yes, in fact, the main objective of this micro model is to make you more familiar with the seven green levers that we'll present afterwards and get a principle on how they can be applied. So the main idea of green levers is that we can, in some way, to achieve savings in our business while at the same time we are protecting the environment. So this is our guidance to the lecture.
Right, right. Yeah, always in the name of earning, we are being responsible towards the conservation of the environment as well. And it's a double benefit. We are earning at the same time, we are preserving the nature for the future.
That's the idea, right? So we think it's quite an interesting idea, but it's building up on, I would call it kind of an established method, which is the lever analysis.
Mm-hmm.
And as we see here, generally we distinguish between two types of levers. This is the commercial levers, where it's about kind of using your advantage as a buyer and getting a better price, and the innovation levers in which you try to improve the product. So this is like product optimization, process optimization, relationship oriented elements, whereas the cost levers are the volume bundling, price evaluation, and finding new suppliers. So that is generally the idea of the lever analysis, right? That these are the tactics which purchasers can use to set up projects normally for savings only, but now comes the attempt to really combine this with the green aspect.
Yeah,
Okay.
so environmental issues are always behind the idea, the mindset of this analysis, right?
Yeah, right. This is the time we are thinking on the green levers to make economic benefit as well. And
Yes.
it's a kind of win-win situation for both the parties who are encouraging for the financial aspect as well as the environmental aspect.
So let's take a look on detail on this different type of levers. So Olga, what can you tell us about this?
Yeah, let's look at them one by one. The first one would be the volume bundling. A very classical lever where one would argue it's always the same story, reduce handling costs and create economies of scale by putting more volume on one supplier typically. Now, how can we give it a green twist? Well, and that is quite straightforward. The grouping on ecological suppliers. Right, imagine that you have a portfolio of half a dozen suppliers. Then comes now the sustainability aspect, make an analysis of the sustainability character of them, discard those which have the lowest scoring, and concentrate the volume on the remainder. So this is exactly the idea of applying the classical lever of getting more volume, better prices, but at the same time with a certain purpose behind that. So that is one of the ideas here which we have. There are a couple of other things like the ecological complementary products, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we can discuss with the supplier about the packaging of which he uses, right? And often, again, always with this idea of not getting it more expensive, but sometimes getting it more simplified and also saving money with that. Or variant reduction, that's another interesting one, right? We typically produce too many variants after time, and then we can make simply a look which one are environmentally more problematic and eliminate exactly these. Then by this way we automatically have also more volume on the remaining and benefit the environment. So that is the idea of the volume bundling here.
And here the color, the blue color is that one that from a survey becomes, in that particular case, that one that was the more convenient, we can say, something like that. But we should adapt different strategies according to each case study, right?
Yeah, this is the outcome of the 4 workshops in 4 different partner countries, itself in Netherlands, Brazil, Portugal, Lithuania, and Finland. And so many stakeholders were engaged in the
115 altogether, right? So that's quite a lot.
That's a lot.
We asked essentially about their experiences, right, and collected them and sorted them according to the 7-lever model. So that is the background. And then we added the survey, right? Because now, maybe one thing to add, of course, the blue ones, if you have a little time, the blue ones here are those which in our survey proved to be more successful. Many people were using them.
Yes,
but it does not mean that for your particular situation, some of the orange ones are even better, right? That's,
each situation is special and has their own features, and so people should reflect on that and make the necessary adaptations.
Yes.
So next, maybe we'll move to the next one.
Yeah, there is the next one is the price evaluation, right?
Yes, price evaluation. Yeah, that's a little bit more difficult. Total cost calculation, very important here because there may be some hidden costs, and this is the classical thing. Yeah, if you unveil these hidden costs because they may environmental costs, often there are also costs which you can take out from and express them in euros savings. Or another example here, the green auction. The pre-selection again of the green suppliers, or giving a bonus for that. And the rest runs with the classical, typically e-auction, right, where the competition is created. So we apply the same logic, except now for another setting, and in this way achieve a more beneficial outcome.
Yeah, it's always challenging to make the tangible whenever it comes to calculate the cost and the prices.
In particular, when we are thinking on external costs, so these indirect impacts that can be caused to the environment when we are doing some business and buying some products, right?
Yeah.
And can we say more about this, or should we move to the next one?
Let's move to the next one. We have promised a short introduction. I think that's what the title says.
Yeah, expanding the supply base.
Yes, well, that is a little bit controversial because in a way we are often reducing the supply base because we kick out those suppliers which do not comply so much. On the other hand, the same story can be used as a way to identify new ones, right? If you don't start with the particular product, but with a particular technology which is, for example, more environmental friendly. We also run some pilots. There was one interesting example where a material was water soluble, right? And that is much more environmentally friendly. And then they took this material as a starting point. Who produces this? And cannot be, and in this way could even find new suppliers because that material was replacing a hydrocarbon-based material, less environmentally friendly. And that is a way how you can, in fact, also create again a larger supply base, right? So that is. That's one way.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, that in the survey we found that one of the best challenge for the maintaining this cost benefit analysis while evaluating or while valuing both environment and the economic, this expanding the supply base or availability of the green supplies was one of the challenges in the market.
But
so the organizations are feeling so challenged, even though they are willing. The supplies availability has been.
Yeah, that's not easy. Also, the other one, import substitution, right? Here we have the same thing, right? In a way, if we reduce international suppliers by having domestic ones, which are obviously closer related.
Yeah, you reduce the transportation and the impact of transport, but also regulation plays an important role on this. In some way.
Yeah, the regulations we have some in another lever that is you with the process optimization. That's why we put them. But we can already talk about
let's talk about.
Oh yeah, we are
the
at
other one. Yeah.
no, we are now at the product optimization. But just to finish the story with the regulation, sometimes the idea is to take a regulation which we have to comply to in any way, but frame of mind using it in a way to say, can't we somehow get business benefits out of this? And that is the idea. It doesn't work with all regulations, right? The EU launches about one environmental regulation per month. That is the number of the last years. Of course, many of them are not suitable, but some do. For example, to change products. Yeah, what about the engineers talking about this? We left the commercial levers and go to the more engineering part.
So here we have a lot of options, starting from raw materials and changing technology. There are different type of approach, but of course we need to look to some points when we think on the product development. So eco design techniques can help on this process, but of course we need to think on the energy we need to produce some specific product, the type of materials that can be replaced, and because we are putting the emphasis on the functionality and what is the main objective of a specific product. So things like decarbonization, because this is also linked to the legislation and this Green Deal strategy that Europe is putting on place.
Yeah, the target.
Yeah.
At the same time, the target is to reduce the carbon footprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are the 10 Rs? That may be worth to mention. 10.
Yeah.
That sounds to be a lot.
10 Rs. These are more related with the circular economy principle. So we need to think differently the way market and even consumers are looking to products. So in some way we can transfer from products to services, but the idea is that when we think about the 10 Rs, we are thinking about, first we need to think that if we need really this product, and then we can refuse to have this product instead of buying new products. Maybe we can try to address different ways of getting the same service that we are looking for, and then we can.
And that's the same story, right? I mean, it's the same service, but differently done, and then exactly it can be cheaper.
Yes.
And of course, we have many of the thing. Every material which we don't need for our product, we neither have to pay for it, nor it has to be extracted, let's say, from the virgin earth. So that's exactly this logic of this win-win out of this.
Yeah, and then,
very strong lever, right?
Yes, I think so, and maybe it's one of the strongest in the market because almost everything is going around this.
Yeah.
Okay, when we think about this green economy. So at the end, we can have recycling and recovering some materials that can be reintroduced again in the economy, and this gives additional benefits.
So a lot of possibilities here with the product changes, but we can also change the processes, right?
Yeah. At the same time, whenever we're talking about the product optimization, the process optimization comes parallelly with it, because whatever the product is being produced and being supplied in the market, their carbon footprint should be considered.
Yeah.
How ecologically friendly the products are being supplied, and how are they being utilized in the market, or any organization is motivated for this. So whenever we are talking about product, then the process comes parallel, in my opinion.
And there are many obvious things. So one of the pilots which we run was in outbound logistics. You have a clear win, right? Logistics, you can optimize it. Every kilometer which you're not running, you don't pay for that. Again, same logic. Neither you're polluting anything.
Yeah.
And then the next level of how are you going to do this? And whole idea is to create this synergies, right? We have many of these process optimization levers. Also, if you click further, but I think we cannot discuss all of them. I just one which I wanted to highlight. Where is it? This refers to the Industry 4.0, right? The Industry 4.0 technologies often help to improve the processes. Think about the sensors, right? In a maintenance environment. right? They help as opposed to a programmed maintenance where the material often is taken out too early, right? Thanks to the sensor, we can see what is really the state of the material and replace it only at the moment when it's necessary. And right, so this is really a big process improvement thanks to the new I4O technologies. Saving money because again we don't need to buy. Over the year we have less of the replacement parts because they run longer, and again we produce less waste. So another process improvement.
And also, it helps on customization in some ways. So we are producing more in accordance with what consumers are expecting, and this also contributes a lot for the efficiency on the process, of course. So at the end, effectiveness and elimination of redundancies. This is really important.
Yeah, at the same time, and all the organization and the market, they are dependent on the suppliers.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, for sure.
And
for
whoever is supplying in the market, it's like better the coordination with the suppliers, better the execution.
This also has a lot to do with the relationships, which is another big lever. Let's look at this optimization of relationship. And here the general idea of this lever is to create a goal congruence by having an adequate incentive system, right? And that is what you can apply very nicely here, except that the incentive system is centered around sharing savings based on an environmental element, have some adequate KPIs on that. And another one, just to highlight the collaboration between suppliers. That has also, at least in our survey, shown that many companies do this at the interfaces. Redundancies can be eliminated. Whole idea behind this relationship lever is, in fact, then you have to have a governance structure which favors this. Otherwise, everybody continues operating in a silo.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, and platforms, the existing online platforms
Yes.
where people knows how the things are processing and the opportunities, all this type of approach can help to make this more clear, more transparent, and this
Exactly.
is how the market will works better, right?
And there's one thing which I notice really about workshop with suppliers. We have highlighted here. Indeed, this is an idea to run such workshops together with suppliers. Maybe not necessarily the commercial levers, not everybody would love to primarily discuss about the pricing, but the innovation levers. That is something where I can perfectly do this with a supplier. How does it work? You invite them and then show these slides here, which you have here, one by one, and discuss one by one. Important when doing this, don't do this all at the same time. It's not a brainstorming, but that's why we have this list of levers here that you can systematically check. Can we do anything about sharing environmental profits? Can we do anything with KPIs? And so on. If nobody has an idea, then you move to the next one. But this helps to boost creativity. And that can be done with suppliers. So, of course, if the relationship is to some extent.
So in what you are saying is that we are engaging and we are doing some co-creation process to help them to develop and to contribute to improve the process and make things more efficient and more sustainable.
Yes.
That's the point. Good question. Right.
Yes. The intersection among the suppliers, buyers, and the innovators gives a kind of even better solutions for the future.
Yeah.
And then
let's move to the last one.
Let's go to the last
Yeah,
one.
that one is sometimes cross-commodity leverage. What is meant with that? Well, this has been developed in 7 levers. There was the 7th 20 years ago. There were only 6, but the 7th have added them because it turns out that sometimes we optimize ourselves in our commodity group and forget about the others. Think about buying cheaper paper and having more toner, right? I mean, all the company does not benefit from this. The guy with the paper gets a premium because he saved a lot of money, but in the end wasted the firm's resources. And that is why I say, okay, in the end, please look at what you have collected as ideas, if it doesn't cause any kind of harm somewhere else. And the other way around, if you cannot, in the commodity, in the material you are discussing about in the moment, benefit somehow at the interfaces, right? A nice example here was of an oil, right? A lubricant there was, in fact, more expensive, but it was running for more than 10,000 kilometers more than the the other one. And here, the oil buying or the lubricant buying responsible would not have an incentive to buy this material unless you put it into the total leasing period of the car, and for that it was much more cheaper, plus more environmental friendly because it runs longer with the same extracted material. And that is exactly the cross commodity leverage.
So in
Yeah.
this case, what
So-
you are saying is that we need to have an holistic perspective and
Absolutely.
a long-term
Yes.
analysis. So not just looking for the investment or in a short perspective, but also to the maintenance and
Of
other
course, exactly.
alternatives to
Yes,
the
exactly. For the
process.
entire
The life cycle assessment in some way.
well, in a way, life cycle assessment, but always again with the idea of getting it more profitable in the end. Right?
Yes, at the end.
That's the principle which we
We
handle
need
here.
to balance. Do you
Yes.
remember the first slide? We need to balance both
Exactly.
things.
That's
Cost and- yeah.
we should have ended with that one, but we did not put it here. Only the further reading. There are a couple of articles that you can see here for further reading. We also have to produce more material on Precius, which you can also download in there. But we hope at least we have given you a short insight into how these green levers work and what is the basic logic behind of that. Because we believe that if you have this logic, that is exactly the key to. And just to say this as a last word from me, and then I give the word to you for the closing words. The point is, and therefore we recommend to make purposeful workshop with this. Yeah, to get the frame of mind set on looking into this direction, and the lever list which our project has produced is just helping you a little bit to structure this and to have some more creativity.
Yeah. In some ways, coming back to this concept of eco-efficiency. So we need to reduce costs, to reduce environmental impacts, at the same time to increase customer satisfaction. So makes the market
And supplier satisfaction.
and
That's
supplier
the same thing which happens. We
yes.
profit from that,
Yeah,
right?
we need to balance all this. At the end, we'll be all much more happy.
Yeah, to learn something more about it, there is Precius project, which has developed an online course, and all of you can get benefited from this. And we all the partner universities are always in a hurry situation to welcome any kind of fruitful comments or suggestions that can enrich our understanding even better, and we are always there for the further connection and discussion.
Yeah, look at the remaining Precius material as well. This is the last little commercial, and here we can end.
Okay.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
listening.
Thank you.